All right, in chapter 2, we're going to be talking about the Great Plains and the movement to the west of all people. So, I want to do a little bit of a geography review to make sure that we know what we're talking about when we're looking at the Great Plains. So, when you look at the map of the United States, what you see here is North America. You see the Great Plains range from Texas all the way up into Canada. So, you're looking past the Appalachian Mountains, but before the Rocky Mountains in the United States. The physical features of this are their flatlands that rise gradually from east to the west. The land is going to be eroded by water and wind. There are grasslands, but very, very few trees. The climate of this place in the Great Plains is very harsh, including low rainfall. There's a lot of dust storms, which we'll talk about for the next few chapters. And there's very harsh winters because, of course, there's nothing to stop the wind. Prior to the Civil War, people referred to the Great Plains as a treeless wasteland, and few people settling on the plains. Instead, they passed through on their way further west, all the way to California. So some scenes from the plains you could see to give you an idea of what we're looking at. Grasslands, very few trees, some mountain areas, but again, just kind of wide open spaces. You see the image of the buffalo on the top. That's something that's very static in our view or our opinion when we picture what the Great Plains look like. So what changed people's minds? Why after the Civil War were they so excited or so content with being able to move over to the Plains area? And the first thing was the opportunities for land ownership. We talked about specifically with slaves, the freed slaves in the South, being able to own property meant true freedom, meaning that they were able to create wealth and their own property. So the Homestead Act of 1862 is going to be created, and for a fee of $10, homesteaders got 160 acres of land. They had to live on it and farm it for 5 years, and then after that they would own that property, meaning that they would have a settlement in changes. What happens, though, and why these other things are good, there's going to be technological advances. There's going to be a possibility of wealth. Again, to reiterate, a new beginning for former slaves. And there's going to be a sense of adventure, meaning things that are different. How can we change the way we lived and have a little bit of our own personal freedom? Some of the inventions that are going to be coming out during this time that are going to change the way we live include the barbed wire. Barbed wire is going to be used for fencing and cattle, to hold cattle together. Windmills. You're also going to have steel plows and railroads. And you're also going to have some adaptations. We're going to talk about sod houses. I'm going to do a little bit of an activity about that. We're also going to have wheat farming and dry farming. And then beef cattle and longhorns, and being able to move them from one place to another to escape weather conditions. Besides that, at the end of the chapter, we're going to talk about the Transcontinental Railroad, which is going to be what connects the east to the far west, where the gold rush is going to be occurring. In that process, what we're going to see is we're going to create farmlands and we're going to create agriculture. And we're going to have to find ways to transport that agriculture to places where it can be used, including the more populous areas of cities in the east. So our first activity, we're going to talk about sod houses, and they're going to be exactly what we sounds like. It's houses made of sod. The settlers used sod before there were very few trees in the Great Plains. We're going to have a little bit of an activity, and that's how we're going to get started here with Chapter 2.